Do you see what I see? Look at that. Boom. Right on time for Storytime with Uncle Scotty. Hello, I'm your host for Storytime with Uncle Scotty. I go by the name of Uncle Scotty. We have our own mugs. Thank you for taking the time to join us for Storytime with Uncle Scotty. We've been reading The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now, the Fantastic Mr. Fox has gotten himself into a bit of a situation where his family is digging down to escape the digging of these three angry farmers and these two mechanical tractors that they have that are just unearthing the entire land, changing the whole landscape of their farm, trying to find this one fox that they don't know is actually 6 foxes. But I'm anxious to see if they give up, if Mr. Fox and his family make it out safely, and what's to come to the farms of the foxes, the fantastic foxes. So let's continue, shall we? Chapter 7. We'll never let him go. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Bean switched off the motor of his tractor and climbed down from the driver's seat. Bunce did the same. Both men had had enough. They were tired and stiff from driving the tractors all day. They were also very hungry. Slowly, they walked over to the small fox's hole in the bottom of the huge crater. Bean's face was purple with rage. Bunce was cursing the fox with dirty words that could not be printed. Bogus came waddling up.
"Dang and blast that filthy, stinking fox," he said. "What the heck do we do now?"
"I'll tell you what we don't do," Bean said. "We don't let him go." "We'll never let him go," Bunce declared.
"Never, never, never,"
cried Bogus. "Did you hear that, Mr. Fox?" yelled Bean, bending low and shouting down the hole. "It's not over yet, Mr. Fox. We're not going home till we've strung you up dead as a dingbat." Whereupon the 3 men all shook hands with one another and swore a solemn oath that they would not go back to their farms until the fox was caught. "What's the next move?" asked Bunce, the pot-bellied dwarf. "We're sending you down the hole to fetch him up," said Bean. "Down you go, you miserable short man." "Not me," screamed Bunce, running away. Bean made a sickly smile. When he smiled, you could see his scarlet gums, like really red gums. You saw more gums than teeth. "Then there's only one thing to do," he said. "We starve him out. We camp here day and night, watching the hole. He'll come out in the end. He'll have to." So Bogus and Bunce and Bean sent messages down to their farms asking for tents, sleeping bags, and supper. Chapter 8. The foxes begin to starve. That evening, 3 tents were put up in the crater on the hill. One for Bogus, one for Bunce, and one for Bean. The tents surrounded Mr. Fox's hole, and the 3 farmers sat outside their tents eating their supper. Bogus had 3 boiled chickens smothered in dumplings. We knew it. 3 boiled chickens for every meal. 9 chickens a day. Bunce had 6 donuts filled with disgusting goose liver paste. Ew. And Bean had 2 gallons of cider. All 3 of them kept their guns beside them. Bogus picked up a steaming chicken and held it close to the fox's hole.
"Can you smell this, Mr. Fox?"
he shouted.
"Lovely tender chicken. Why don't you come up and get it?"
The rich scent of chicken wafted down the tunnel to where the foxes were crouching. "Oh, Dad," said one of the small foxes, "couldn't we just sneak up and snatch it out of his hand?" "Don't you dare," said Mrs. Fox. "That's just what they want you to do." "But we're so hungry," he cried. "How long will it be till we get something to eat?" Their mother didn't answer them, nor did their father. There was no answer to give. As darkness fell, Bunce and Bean switched on the powerful headlamps of the 2 tractors and shone them onto the hole. "Now," said Bean, we'll take turns to keep watch. One watches while 2 sleep, and so on throughout the whole night." Bogus said,
"What if the fox digs a hole right through the hill and comes out on the other side? You didn't think of that one, did you?"
Course I did, said Bean, pretending that he had.
Go on then, tell us the answer.
Bean picked something small and black out of his ear, "Ew," and flicked it away. How many men have you got working on your farm? He said.
35?
Bogus said. I got 36, said Bunce. And I've got 37, said Bean. That makes 108 men altogether. Quick math by Bean. We must order them to surround the hill. Each man will have a gun and a flashlight. There will be no escape for Mr. Fox. So the order went down to the farms, and that night 108 men formed a tight ring around the bottom of the hill. They were armed with sticks and guns and hatchets and pistols and all sorts of other horrible weapons. This made it quite impossible for a fox or indeed any other animal to escape from the hill. The next day, watching and waiting went on. Bogus and Bunce and Bean sat upon small stools, staring at the fox's hole. That's a really good alliteration sentence. Bogus and Bunce and Bean sat upon small stools, staring at the foxhole. Good work, Roald Dahl. They didn't talk much. They just sat there with their guns on their laps. Every so often, Mr. Fox would creep a little closer towards the mouth of the tunnel and take a sniff. Then he would creep back again and say, "They're still there." "Are you quite sure?" Mrs. Fox would ask. "Positive," said Mr. Fox. "I can smell that man Bean a mile away. He stinks." And we'll find out what happens next. Next time on Storytime with Uncle Scotty. I have been your host for Storytime with Uncle Scotty. We have our mugs. Thank you for checking us out. As always, watching, liking, doing all those wonderful things. And we will see you next time. That probably means tomorrow, I think. Okay. Bye. Everything's okay. Bye.